All right, guys, good morning and welcome to the stream. Hope you guys are all doing pretty well. We're just going to have a little laid back session here. Nothing scripted or already planned out except for just a few things I wanted to talk about. So, this is, I know it says World Creator 3, but as I've mentioned in the past stream, this is going to be dubbed World Creator 2021. So, it's going to be whatever year it is, it's going to be the version of the software. So this is just an early form, and I think the plan is to still have this version available to all the alpha users sometime at the end of this month, which is, I guess, technically this week, right? Later this week. So hopefully you guys can get your hands on this. Last stream we kind of went through this portion of the stream probably way too quick than I wanted, but we spent more time on announcements than actually diving into World Creator as much as I wanted to. So I just wanted to take this opportunity today to kind of slow down the process and spend more time in World Creator 2021 so that you guys can get a better glance at it. So obviously, the UI is a little bit different. There's this nice little handy set of information here in the top right that shows FPS and how much video memory I have, which I have a 2080 Ti, so that's just why that says it's 11 gigs there. But real quick, let's go to the settings cogwheel here. And there's a couple things that I skimmed over in the last stream that I totally forgot to mention. So obviously they're still working on this, but the user interface section here, even though the text here looks kind of cryptic, it'll be all cleaned up. But you know how whenever you drag the terrain over behind the panel here, we can actually turn that transparency off. And this is a good opportunity. When the transparency is off, you can see what colors are going to be what a little bit easier. So let's go ahead and turn transparency back on, and we can affect, presumably, the blur strength of what's underneath. So turn it to 0. It's a perfect mirror, which is kind of cool. Or we blur it all the way and it doesn't look like much. So a little bit of blur. So it's just your personal preference of whatever you want. As well as like you can change, if you have the transparency turned off, you can change the background. I believe this field background is changing sort of the field background of this slider or this option here. This color, I believe, is the container color. So the box of the color drop down here. This one's pretty cool. I like to be able to change the actual selections color. So let's do something that's pretty bright orange. This is kind of resembling the colors that I had in World Creator 2. I have a custom UI that I created, a user interface UI that I made that you can actually get for free over on my Patreon page. So let's just change that to orange since I like that color. And we can just have transparency turned off in this case. It's kind of cool. It's whatever you guys want to do. As well as the option for transparent background on or off for screenshots. And again, you can hit the, let's see, the screenshot folder icon right here in the top left, or I guess right here in the bottom right. There's two different vertical menus. There's the one that we're used to in the top left, then the one down here in the bottom right. And I think, I'm not exactly sure what the entire function of the differences or what they're going to be, except for maybe you can move these around at some point. Like if you were to click, hold, and drag, you can move these around at some point, as well as this menu, or this panel, you can move around later. So that's pretty much all the things that you can do right now is some of those things. So obviously there's going to be more customization later on. Forget my question. I found it. Oh, what are my PC specs? Oh yeah, they're listed in the Twitch channel. I think they're the latest ones that I have. So yeah, I have a 9900K CPU, 2080 Ti, GPU, 64 gigs of RAM, and now 64 gigs of RAM sounds like a lot, but I actually rendered a Blender scene a few weeks ago, and I used, while that Blender scene had a bunch of 8K textures that I was doing some work for Quixel on, it used about 52 gigs of my RAM. So yeah, RAM usage kind of sucked up all of that percentage pretty high. Okay, so let's mental. Yeah, the satellite DEM stuff looks pretty mental in this, and we're actually going to touch on that here right now. So to get that sort of set up, you have to have an account with MapTiler. So let's go to MapTiler here. And I kind of saying MapTiler kind of makes me think that I'm saying my name, Tyler, but Tyler. All right, so there's different. I'm not entirely familiar with MapTiler's sort of subscription setups, but I figured this out yesterday and whatnot. Is you don't, to my knowledge, there is a free account and a paid account, and the differences are with how many times you can have sort of connected access per month or connections to the information. So if you, I guess that means if you were to click on, you know, this tile and have an access to this link and plug it in, how many times you're using that per month is limited. But the free account is, I think, limited to either 100 or 100,000. I'm not entirely sure what the difference that the let's see if we can't look it up here. Let's see what the cloud is like. Plans. Okay, so here we go. So yeah, so this is, so there's the free account and there's the Flex Unlimited, and obviously the Flex and Unlimited have some different things, but you could start out, I mean, I would at least make an account and start out with the free account because yeah, see, requests included, 100,000 requests per month. And I think that's how many times you access the API links. Stefan can help clarify that a little bit more, but I'm assuming essentially that's what it is. And you know, the vector data, vector maps, and this is the important one, the standard raster maps, if I can highlight it correctly. The standard raster maps is really the important one that you want to use, especially for testing purposes, because the standard raster maps is what's going to be all of your DEM data, since it says XYZ right there for obviously XYZ coordinates. So don't be alarmed. You can get the DEM data for free in World Creator 2021, and how you want, if you were, you know, a company or a studio and you're wanting to have multiple people, then I guess there's different, I don't know how, if there's a seat thing or if it's a company-wide API link based on these sort of requests. So that could be something that you ask MapTiler, or maybe Stefan with World Creator Devs knows the answer to that. But regardless, start a free account and you're good to get going. All right, so as we see here, we have two bits of information that we need to plug into World Creator in order to capture the MapTiler information. One, obviously, we need the elevation data, and two, we need the satellite data. And the satellite data is the sort of the texture, the satellite texture that you see. So, for instance, if we were to do the satellite map, we want to go under your account. There's a tile tab here on the left, and you see all the different tiles that you have access as part of your account. And this, to showcase this for you, this is the access that you get, I believe, for the free version. So all the things that I see here is what's available, the different tiles for the free version of the account. So for the satellite map here on the right in World Creator 2021, we need to select the satellite tile here. There's a satellite medium raster and a satellite another type of medium raster. Let's see, this is a different year. So this is satellite imagery based off 2016, and this one is satellite imagery based off 2018. And these are medium resolutions, so they're going to be a little bit less quality. And I think this particular satellite tile here is the ultra quality, like the full quality of the world, basically. So all you really have to do is in the satellite section here, you need to copy. There's a certain link, and it's kind of hard to. It was kind of daunting on me to figure out which one to use at first. But so you want to go down under this satellite section, go down to the raster tiles category, and you want the second link. So this second link here, which is the sort of direct link to the cloud access. And so you want to copy this, and then over here, you're going to select this bar and you're going to paste it there. Same thing for we go back to tiles. For the elevation map information, we want to go to, which is really hard to sort of understand why they named it this way, but it's the RGB terrain tile, which is the height map information. And you can see this where it says raster-DEM. So that's one way that you know that it's the DEM data. So I'm going to select this, and you can see there's this little previewer in a hill shaded format to kind of show you sort of what you're going to get. Same thing, the raster DEM tile section, and you want the second link. So you copy that here in World Creator 2021, you paste it in the elevation map URL slot. Then after you paste both of those, you just click apply, and then it'll can make that connected link between your MapTiler cloud account and your World Creator 2021 interface here. I don't think it necessarily links your account, your MapTiler account to your World Creator account. It's two different, I believe it's two different things. So just note that you only have to do this once while you have the software. So that's pretty good. And also, you don't have to do this linking every single time you launch World Creator. Once you hit apply, it's applied. You don't have to worry about going back to these links. So anytime you reopen the software, it's obviously going to be right there for you and available to use. All right. So any questions about that process? Tried to go a little slower, showcasing exactly where those links were this time compared to last stream. And we can just kind of move on from there. All right, so next, let's just go ahead and up our precision for our terrain just a tad, maybe a quarter meter. All right, so then to initiate the satellite imagery, you have to go to the biome here. And obviously these tabs are a little small, and you can be able to control, I'm assuming, the scale of all the icons and things at some point. So we're going to go to the custom base shape section. And they've said that all of the satellite biome DEM stuff is going to soon be available in the surface section here. So where I'm showing you this now is not going to be where it's actually going to be. It's going to be all right here in the surface tab. But for now, it's in the custom base shape tab, which kind of makes sense to a degree. All right, let's go ahead and just flatten this. And you don't really have to flatten it, but I like to go ahead and just flatten it to give ourselves a base to work off of. And so to initiate the satellite data, you have to click this icon here that says Open Map. So we're going to open that map, and you can see it pops open a little window here that shows the whole world. And it doesn't look like much right here because right now it's just trying to showcase what the world looks like. So this is stretching out the entire planet. You can see here's North America, South America, Africa, Asia, Antarctica, and all that. So we can seemingly in this window here, zoom in and out, move it around anywhere we want in the world. So let's go somewhere over here. I found a spot that I liked before, and I'm not entirely sure. Aha, right here. Let's go ahead and just grab this peak element. Move around. This is really quick. Like, this is so much better than going to terrain.party and just importing height maps, which you can still do. Don't get me wrong. You can still, insert height map data. So that's perfectly fine. You also have this handy dandy longitude and latitude coordinates here that you can type in if you have it, or simply just find it here on the map. So let's go right here. Zoom in a tab. All right, so at this point, since we're moving around, it doesn't look like much, and that's because it's all based on these subdivisions that you have on your terrain. So if you increase the subdivision, so I'm going to increase it by 1, you can see that the information kind of starts getting a little bit more detailed. We do it again, you can see that information is coming through. So really at this point, it's about finding a good balance between the information you want to showcase on your terrain versus the information that's coming from the height, the DEM data. If you go too far, so I went a little bit too far from what the quality of the DEM data, and you can see here, we're getting some weird sort of pixelations. So this is a matter of just the kind of quality from the DEM source. And I like to go about 2 notches of subdivisions below this sort of look. So I'll drop down a subdivision and another subdivision so that we can have more stuff to work with for your filters. Hello, sorry to bug you. Is this version available for licensed users? Not yet, but they've said that they are planning to have this available to, I believe, the alpha users at the end of this month, and soon following to all of the pro licensed users of World Creator 2. So if you have a World Creator 2 license and you're a pro maintenance user, then you'll be able to get World Creator 2021 for free and all of this juicy goodness. This version that I'm having is a pre-release version, so there are a couple bugs that I have found along the way that they're trying to sort of fix before they send it to the other alpha users. And then we'll do all sort of testing for a week or 2 and help the devs out find any bugs, and then they'll bring it to the remainder of you guys. Oh yeah, definitely. So great that you have the pro version. That is the best version, and probably the only version that I would recommend to people to get. All right, so at this point, there's a couple other things that we can do with the height map at this point. You can adjust the scale in 2 different ways. So right now, the height scale here at the top is talking about the height, the scaling of the height map itself that's coming in. And this scale is scaling the height as well from within World Creator. It's a bit of a different circumstance. So if we were to, I'd rather just use this scale icon or scale slider here. Click it and you can scale this however you want. Now, at 1 is assuming that that is the accurate representation based on the scale of what you're showing in here. So if you want it to be a little bit more substantial, you can increase it by a little bit, which I'm just going to go ahead and do. And at some point, the sort of scaled factor to this is going to be much more realistic. So right now, obviously, these square of the terrain here is 2 kilometers by 2 kilometers. Well, I know for a fact that the scale here is not to a specific scale, because obviously I can zoom in and out, and it's super unrealistic in that aspect. So at some point we're going to say, hey, I want to capture sort of a realistic scale on this DEM data and have that translated to a realistic scale here in the viewport. That's going to happen. They obviously haven't added that yet. You can also do the zoom factor here if you want, instead of scrolling in and out of this window. I think scrolling in and out and panning around the window is much easier than using the slider, but the slider is there for you. Also, the type here, this says height, and this is just showcasing the height sort of data that's coming in. But you can also, if you would prefer to see the satellite image to help guide you where you want to capture, you can do that. So if I click satellite here, it's going to showcase the satellite image based on where I'm capturing. So if that helps you, you can easily use that information instead of using the height information to showcase where in the world you want to capture. I'm not entirely sure what these do just yet. I've tested these out and they don't do anything just yet And I'm assuming it's the preview type within your viewport. I'll ask them about that. To me, it doesn't do anything right now, but it obviously will. So at this point, you have two options. You can just leave this alone and be good with it. Or if you hit apply map, it's going to just go ahead and apply all this. So see right now, as I'm hovering over the map, when we normally do custom base shapes, we'll see the grid structure, the sort of layout of the terrain. So we don't see that right now because we're still in sort of the edit mode of height map. So if we click apply map, it's going to apply that sort of height map where it is. And now we can't go back and edit it unless we delete the custom base shape and then restart the custom base shape in a new area. So keep that in mind, that once you apply it, you can't move this around anymore. Hi, there will be a correction feature to compensate the area distortion caused by the used map projection type. Gotcha. Oh, will there be a correction feature to compensate the area distortion caused by the used map projection type? That's a really good question. I don't know I don't exactly know the answer to that, but I'm assuming they will. I know that MapTiler has some, they've kind of got some baked in projection mapping, but yeah, that's a good thought. I haven't actually got the answer to that one just yet, unless you're stating that you know that information and you're stating a fact instead of a question. Anyway, so you can, what I would recommend is if you're not sure exactly where you want to establish the location of your height map, don't click apply map and then create a second biome that's strictly just for, let's go here and add, create a second biome that's intended solely for sculpting. So the first biome here is just your satellite information biome. So if you didn't click apply map, you can leave it where it is. But do note that if you go to a second biome and start customizing and shaping it a little bit, that whatever you change is going to be adhered to the second biome. So this is a good way of a non-destructive workflow. I would always do a second biome for just the sculpting purposes, and the first biome here, the parent biome, is the satellite DEM data purposes. So with that, let's go ahead and click on Inherit Filters. And of course, if you wanted to change the information here, you can change the information any way you want. I'm going to go ahead and delete that, create this, flatten, and then redo a couple things. So if I wanted to just say I want to sort of affect this by a meter, we can lower this by a little bit. So at this point, yeah, you can just easily go through and sculpt everything the way you want. So any questions about setting up the sort of height map information and went through the custom base shape? Because I'm going to now go to the texturing aspect that I mentioned that I would talk about. Let's see. So now I'll let those roll in if there are any. So to get a sense of the utilizing the texture of the satellite texture, and again, the satellite texture is the satellite map URL, and the elevation map URL is the height map data. So going back to the first biome, I'll just do this in the first biome for now, and selecting the texture function here. We don't have to add another material if we want to do this, and I would do all of your sort of masking that I'm about to showcase in the first biome and anything additional in other biomes. So let's click the only material here. What is the size limit is the question. The size limit of sort of the height map information that you can grab, or the size limit of of each tile that you can utilize. Presumably at some point, if I understand the question, at some okay, so I would like to do 262 kilometers by 262 kilometers. Okay, I got you. Well, so again, if we were to let's hide. Let's go to this guy. Let's add a new biome and just showcase this. Open map. We'll just inherit something. All right, so say here you want to make this 262 kilometers by 262 kilometers, whatever it comes out to be. At some point, whenever they get it down, you can say, hey, we're going to take this height map information in this area and move it to like sort of a world composition workflow like in Unreal Engine 4. So just like in Unreal Engine, we can add another landscape tile to the left of this, the top of it, the right and the bottom, and everywhere in between. So you can seemingly have an insane number of tiles if you want, and you can say, hey, I want to view just this tile and have all the tiles around it be kind of ghosted, or I want to view 9 tiles, or I want to view 20 tiles. You'll be able to choose how many tiles you want to see at a time, because it will be taxing on your computer no matter what system you have displaying an X amount, a number of tiles. And maybe the tiling system will be like an Unreal Engine, where as you move around it, tiles sort of with the culling distances pop into view, and you're able to see tiles as you move around. And over here, there will be a grid system. I'm hoping there will be a grid system that will show all the different tiles that you've locked into this height map information. So if you click on this tile here in the left corner, the viewport will instantly jump to that corner tile, and you can start working on it. So yeah, that's the idea. And then you can specify, hey, I want to specify this tile to be 4 meters in resolution, but if I want the next tile to be 8 meters in resolution or 2 meters in resolution, you certainly can do that. That's the goal. How they put that in practice, I'm not sure how easy it is, but I know that's sort of the goal in mind, to be able to do whatever terrain size you want to do as long as you can handle it. That's sort of how World Creator 2 is, but once you get beyond 32 kilometers by 32 kilometers, even half resolution, it can get really taxing on the system.